50-year sentence just handed down by the judge, on top of the 50-year sentence already being served by the young Chicago rapper, Tay K, 47. Will he ever had a chance at getting an opportunity at parole? Let's find out. Let's watch together. Tune in.
All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, Mr. McIntyre, the jury found you guilty of murder. Your punishment is to be assessed at 80 years in the prison. The court will give you credit for any time served. There's a $0 fine. And with regards to the other offense, State, are you requesting that to be stacked?
Yes, we are, Your Honor.
All right.
Your Honor.
And I'm assuming you're against that, is that correct?
We are, Your Honor. We would just like to briefly, for the record, maintain that our argument would be that to run consecutively an 80-year sentence on top of 50.
Just one moment, counsel. Just give me one moment. Mr. McIntyre, I want you to know that I listened to all of the evidence in punishment and thought about whether or not your sentence should be stacked. I don't know where your mom is, don't know where your father is. I know that you had a rough childhood. And I do know that these offenses occurred when you were very young. And I understand the state of the law, what people consider an adult. I listened to the testimony of the expert that was brought by defense counsel. You've already been sentenced to murder in the other county, and then you have a murder here. And the sentence for 55 years, that's a stiff sentence. This 80-year sentence is a stiff sentence. And these are cases where you have to serve half your time, and that's day for day time, and I recognize that. Hopefully you will grow, but based upon his age, based upon the number of years that he has received out of Tarrant County and the number of years that he's received here, based upon his history and the lack of any type of good parenting. From what I can tell, his mother wasn't a good parent to him. His father wasn't a good parent to him. Child Protective Services was not good. And if you believe the testimony, I don't know why Child Protective Services would place children back with a father who put the children's mother in the hospital. Is there something else that needs to be done with our society? Yes. Is more money need for Child Protective Services and their workers? Yes. And I do realize that while this is a lot of time, and I tell people all the time, any time that you do in custody is a lot of time. But by that same token, you're still alive. And what the state has said is true. You're still alive. You can still better yourself. If you end up in prison for the rest of your life, you're still alive. You still can improve yourself. Your family can still visit you. But the complainant in this case is deceased. And you need to internalize that the complainant in this case is deceased and that his family is never going to see him again. So you're going to have to make changes. And you're going to have to remove people from your life who are not of benefit in the means of making you a better person. And I do understand that sometimes people will go to prison, they join gangs because you need protection, because you're there by yourself, you're young, but you're going to have to make better choices. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to sentence him to 80 years in the prison, give him credit for any time served. There is a $0 fine. This will run concurrent with 1511547D.
Man, 80 years, man. 80 years. Now, everything that judge everything that judge said during his sentencing, you know, was heartfelt, man. You know, it don't get no realer than this, man. You know, this judge actually, you know, had seemed to have some type of sympathy for this young guy. Even though she know he committed this awful crime. You know, this judge is a lady who handles these type of cases all the time, man. And she see this day in, day out. These kids coming in front of her, man, you know, with like I said, who come from dysfunctional families, man, who are misled by the streets, you know, the big homies, and just you know, the life of crime, man. And she's sitting here and she's looking at this young guy, and she's saying to herself, man, you know, this is just a messed up situation. As you can see, she mentioned everything from his upbringing, man, his parents. You know, how his father, I think she said the father beat on his mother. Him and his sister ran away from home. They was runaways. You know, child protective services, man, they failed the young guy, man. You know, he would just fail, man. He like basically he had no chance. You know, his mother and father, man, they were Crips. His parents were Crips, man. You know, his parents were gang members, man. You know, mother and father, gang members. So this is just a lost child, man. This was a lost child, man. You know, he was doomed from the beginning, man. You know, and this judge, she sees this, man. You know, regardless, there are many people out here who have no sympathy for this young guy, man. You know, he took the life of an innocent young man. Although he was young, he was at the age of 17. The young guy that he murdered was also, I think, was about 17. And this was an innocent young man, you know. He was a photographer. He wasn't an op. He wasn't a gang member. He wasn't a threat. You know, he was just a photographer, man. A nerdy type of guy, man. You know, who just pursuing a career in visuals, man, and you know, just production, video production. You know, and never in a million years did this young guy think that this camera that he dedicated his life to, this career that he dedicated his life to, will cause him his life at the hands of a young, misled, just a young guy, man, who just doomed, man. It's crazy because this judge, he probably had a better chance picking the judge, you know, rather than picking the jury. See, because he picked the jury. And a lot of times what people don't understand is that when you go to trial, you could pick the jury, you could pick the judge or the jury. 9 times out of 10, when you pick that jury, it's almost like you're avoiding the judge. So if you get found guilty by that jury, you're likely going to get the maximum sentence. This is how it usually go, man. And the judge can, you know, she can have leniency and, you know, work anywhere from the minimum, you know, to the maximum of the sentence that crime, you know, holds. But when that jury finds you guilty, man, you can just expect the worst. You know, there is no mercy, man, when it comes to, you know, those juries. A lot of times people avoid the judge because, you know, the biases of some of these judges, man. You know, sometimes people lawyers, man, tell them that they think it's best for them to pick the jury because this judge has a background of being biased and things like that, you know. And but it's always up to the defendant. And a lot of times, defendants, man, in these trials, they pick the jury because they feel like, you know, they have 12 persons of their peers, man, that they have an opportunity of swaying, of convincing that they are actually innocent in this crime, you know. But as you can see, a lot of times, man, it don't turn out in the way you expect it to turn out. You know, these cases, man, these murder cases, man, they have to get down to the nitty gritty. So they could take a long time, man. They could take a long time. You know, some of these murder cases, man, they could take up to about 2 years, man. Like I said, man, they could take up to about 2 years. You know, they need, you know, a lot of time the prosecutors, they get granted more time to do more investigating, to gather all the evidence that they can get before trial. And a lot of times, man, they dig and they dig and they dig, man. They don't leave any stone unturned. You know, and a lot of times, man, the outcome is what you have here. You know, a guilty verdict. I'm gonna say unfortunately, but fortunately for the family of the victim, man, this young guy that was brutally murdered, man. This young guy, TK 47 is what they call him, right? He was sentenced to 80 years. 80 years, you know, on top of the 50 years that he was already serving. See, because he had murders in 2 different counties. So, you know, once he went in front of the jury, man, and the prosecutors get to digging, man, and they get to, you know, pulling rabbits out the hat, cause they good for that, man. You know, your lawyer, and your defense team, man, they don't know. A lot of times they don't know what the prosecutor is gonna come up with, man. What they gonna pull out their ass, man, in these trials. You know, so that's why you need good lawyers a lot of times, man. But this one here, man, it's crazy, man, because like I said, with a name like TK 47, the prosecutor's gonna have their way. They're gonna have a ball in trial, man. You know, when they get to showing your rap videos and, you know, your drill videos, you waving a gun and all that, you know, talking about doing a race, you know. Man. This is just, this one here, man. This is a prime example of the outcome that a lot of these young guys are going to face, man. They just don't know it yet. A lot of you young guys, man, that's out here running around, having it your way. You know, you feel like you got the world in the palm of your hands, man. You know, because you got that Glocky with the switch. You know, you got that FN57, man. You know what I mean? You feel like you unstoppable, man. You untouchable. This can't happen to you. This will never be you, right? That's what you tell yourself. I can almost guarantee that's what he told himself as well. You know, he never thought he was going to end up in this situation. I can almost guarantee you that. 50 years and 80 years. Now, as you can see, the prosecutor, they requested to have this 80-year sentence ran consecutive. And for those of you who don't understand, court terms, they use these terms consecutive and concurrent. Consecutive meaning the 50 years that he's already serving, the prosecutor is requesting that this 80 years get served on top of the 50 years, meaning they want him to finish doing that 50 years and then start his 80 years, right? But the judge has some type of leniency, man, and he need to be thankful that this judge has some sympathy for this young guy, man, because she ran his sentence. She ran it concurrent. She ran it concurrent, meaning, instead of him serving that 50 years and then serving the 80 years, he get to serve the 80 years along with the 50. So what they mean by that is that 80-year sentence starts now. That's going to eat that 50 up, So he's liable, as bad as this look, he's liable to get parole. He's liable to get parole in about 40 years. How old is he now? 20-something? He'd be about 70 years old. He may be about 70 years old, and that's not guaranteed to get parole. But I mean, he may be eligible for parole in half of that 80 years, in 40 years. There's a lot of things that can happen from now, and by the time half of his sentence is served. A lot of laws could change, man. That happens a lot, man. With juveniles, man. They already passed laws that juveniles, any juvenile, man, as they catch a murder charge as a juvenile. I think it's like 30 years. They're granted parole after 30 years, as long as they were a juvenile when they court this body. Because the way they see it, man, is these juveniles at that age, man, their mind is not fully developed, man. They don't know what they're doing, man. They don't understand how important their life is yet, man. And how important and how detrimental the actions, how detrimental are the actions, man, that they're committing. And the consequences that it might cost them, man. So, he kind of, as bad as this look, it kind of turned out in his favor a little bit. I have to say that. And for those who know about, these court cases and the time and how they run it and all that, a lot of guys will look at this and say, as bad as it look, man, this young guy, because they could have definitely ran this shit wild, man. And did him dirty, man. But the crime, man, getting down to the crime, man. This was a brutal crime, man. Like I said, this young guy, he was just a photographer, man. He was just a photographer, innocent young man, And Tay K, and I believe him and his girlfriend, he had his girlfriend driving. He went to pick this young man up and got him in the car and tried to rob him for the camera. For whatever reason, he tried to rob this young man for the camera, and the young man jumped out the car. And I'm guessing Tay K had the camera, and the young guy jumped out the car, and he wanted his camera. He resisted. I want my damn camera. And he jumped on that car. He jumped on the car. The girlfriend started driving the car, and Tay K was telling the girlfriend, to get his ass off the car, get him off the car. And she didn't know what to do. She was in a tight spot, So she said she was devastated, man. And she turned into the nearest parking lot, which was the parking lot of the Chick-fil-A. She pulled into that parking lot because I'm guessing she's saying she saw, she was looking for the police. She was hoping that the police, she could spot a police car or an officer in sight. But she pulled over to the nearest parking lot. Tay K jumped out the car, shot him dead, man. You know, and as you can see, man, a lot of times when you have situations like this, you have young girls, man. They turned on by these young guys, man. These wild young guys, man. They're shooters. They got a reputation for murder, robbery, just shootings and things of that nature. And a lot of times, this is the result. You get dragged into situations when there's young guys like this, because young guys like this are very unpredictable. You never know. You never know when they're going to strike, man. You never know when they're going to, you just can never dictate, predict their actions. They're liable to do something at any given time, man, and they're not thinking about you. They're not thinking about you. They're not even thinking about themselves. Just understand that. So a lot of you young ladies out here, man, who turned on by these young guys that's wild like that, just understand that you could end up in a situation like this. And as you can see, you young guys, when you have these young women, riding around with y'all, man, and y'all know that y'all liable to see an op or you have murder on your mind, or you have robbery on your mind. Your intentions is to commit a crime. And you have your girlfriend in the car with you, or in your presence, and you commit a crime, whether murder, robbery, or whatever. Just understand, your girlfriend, she may be as loyal as hell to you within a relationship, but once you commit a crime and you put her in a tight spot like this, you can't expect her to be loyal to you, man. When she been and get flimsy, on that stand, and she start telling it all, man, you can't be mad at her. And your family will be foolish. Your loved ones will be foolish to look at her like she's doing something wrong, man, to get up on that stand and tell the truth. To tell the truth. Because she never expected to be put in this situation. So just think about that. I want all parties, man, you young women and you young men, to think about these things, man. When y'all out there in the world, man, and y'all not thinking, y'all in the moment, it's never a juicy outcome, man. It's always tragic, man. It's always a sad outcome, man, in these type of situations. Man, this one right here, though, is... Anyway, I'm gonna let you see for yourself, man. Have a listen.
And Tamor took out his gun and pointed it at Mark and asked for his bag. Mark refused to give him the bag, so they all started hitting him, and Tamor was hitting him with the gun, and the whole time I didn't look back, but when I did, I saw his face, and I started telling them to let him go, and I just kept screaming, let him go. And Jalen opened the door and started pushing him out. And he was fighting to get back in the car. And then they didn't let him in the car. So he went around the car and he jumped on the hood. And then the light turned green.
Okay. I'm gonna stop you right there, okay?
Okay.
So, when you all were at the light on McCullough, you said Tamor produced his gun, correct?
Yes.
And who did Tamor have the gun pointed at?
Mark.
And what was Tamor saying when he had the gun pointed at Mark?
To give him his bag.
And so, once the light turned green, what happened?
He pointed the gun at me and told me to start driving. So I started driving. I didn't know where to go, so I turned into the first place that I saw, which was the Chick-fil-A. Once I turned into the Chick-fil-A, he kept yelling at me to get him off the car. I didn't know how to, so I was just going back and forth really quickly. And then Mark kicked the windshield, and TK opened the door and shot him.
Okay.
Now, as you can see, TK's girlfriend, like I was just telling you, his girlfriend, she, no matter how loyal she may have been within a relationship, she is now in a position where she has to tell it all, man. She has to tell the truth. She's part of an investigation. She can't get on that stand and lie, man. She has to tell the truth, you know? And regardless to how your family, how you may feel about that, you know, it's all your fault. It's all your fault. You put her in a situation, you know? You put her in this predicament, man, where she has to do this, man. And you never see it, man. You never see yourself years down the road, man, in this type of situation when you're in a moment, you know. So just think, man. Use your brain. That's why you got a brain, man. Use it, man. Use it, you know, because you can easily be this guy, man. You can easily end up in a situation like this, you know. Now, I'm quite sure he was already serving a 50-year sentence. So when he got brought down for this trial here, he probably already knew that I'm not gonna say he already knew, but he probably was already he already understood that, you know, I'm already serving life. So 9 times out of 10, man, whatever sentence I get for this, if I get found guilty, I'm going to see. A lot of times when they give you these years and all that, when they say 80 years, 120 years, and all this type of things, man, when you 30 years old, 35, 40 years old, man, and they give you 80 years, 60 years, that's 100 years, 110, 120 years. There is no way possible you can serve 120 years, you know? So that's all just institutional talk. You know, it's all, they mind fucking you at that point. You know, that's just life. It's life. You know, when you have a sentence that is too vast for you to serve, it's just life. Anything after that is life. There's no way possible you could serve a 100-year sentence. You know? So after that point, man, it's just all mind games and mind fuckery, you know, just so that you could think like, I got 120 years. Like, you got more years on the books than a guy who, let's say, you know, got 25 to life or whatever. You know, he may have possibility of parole in 25 years or whatever. As for you, by the time you eligible for parole, you'll be goddamn 90 years old and shit like that. So you really have no chance of coming home. But just man, this right here, man, should be a learning experience for a lot of you young guys out here, man, who admire and who influence and look up to the street life and a life of crime. And just drill rap and all this stupid shit, man. You know, putting your crime on wax and going live and taunting your ops. You know, all this shit is just stupid, man. I don't know who came up with this shit. I don't know who made it cool. I don't know who, where the old heads at, man? No, goddamn, when I was coming up, man, motherfuckers wasn't this dumb, man. Criminals wanted to get away with the crimes, man. You know, they wanted to get away with it. These days, man, they want to go federal. It don't make no sense. It don't make no sense, man. You know, I want you young guys, man, to understand that the outcome that you just seen here, man, this is what you have awaiting you if you continue to live the life that you're living. This is the outcome. You know, this will be the end of the road for you. You know, a gavel and a life sentence. So just understand that. Just understand that. Anyway, it's your boy, Mr. 1751, bringing you another 1751 reaction. And until next time, y'all stay up. Hey, yo, if you enjoy watching videos like these, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. Help your boy get into the algorithm so that I can continue to bring you more videos just like the one you just watched. Anyway, until next time, y'all stay up.
Yeah, devil let in my soul, I can't let him get to me. Can't let him get to me, trying to be a different man, I'm not who I used to be. Had to switch my whole imagery, I'm a changed man. If I didn't believe in myself, who would've believed in me? Even when I was down, nobody knew I needed help. Who would've thought I ain't eat? Many days, many nights had to swallow my pride and just go to sleep.